Hi, Gwent ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this first Gwent European Championship. I'm Ozymandias and I'm pleased to be your host tonight. Before going any further, you may wonder what is the Gwent European Championship. Well, have you already asked yourself who is the best Gwent community player? Have you already asked yourself which country has the best Gwent community? We are here to make your dream come true. The Gwent European Championship is a tournament organized by the Gwent European Project in collaboration with 6 Gwent communities: Gwent Spain, Gwent Poland, Gwent CIS, Gwent Italia, Gwent Deutschland, and the last and not the least, Gwent France. I would like to thank their admin, organizer, and players, because without them, this Gwent European Championship will not have seen the day. Thank you very much. So, let's back to the subject. Each communities, in order to participate to this Gwent European Championship, have set up a league. Players who have joined the league have competed during some weeks and obtained points. At the end of the league season, the top 4 players, the one with the most points, have been selected to represent their communities in the Gwent European Championship, and that's why we are. Tonight, we will tell you the stories of these 24 players who has compete not for money, not for some kegs or some meteorite powders, but they compete for the glory of the community, the glory of their name, and to have the title of Gwent European Championship Masters. But this epic story is too much to be seen by only one man. That's why we are asked to our more famous bards to do this. Their works is to tell you the adventures of the current Gwent European Championship Masters. To sing you how he defeated opponent after opponent, champions after champions. What was the strategy he applied and the tactics he used until he was the chosen one. These 2 bards, you may already know them, but let me introduce them to you if it's not the case. The first one has been streaming Gwent since the early 2018. He is usually enthusiastic about the game and is currently the only Gwent streamer representing Ireland. His streams are all about tune and good loss, and occasionally good Gwent. You can find his Twitch channel in chat. I want, of course, speaking of Will Weil. The second boss is a man who wears a crown like no one ever does. He's a streamer and player for the Gwent team Leviathan's Gaming. You will not find this Twitch channel in chat because we don't have time to make another comment, but yet, if you want to post it, go on. Let me introduce you, King Chasey. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Greetings.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. You've actually just gone and got yourself the greatest caster in the Gwent community, right? As well as the most handsome face on Twitch. So
Yeah.
I mean, you guys have really hit the jackpot here with your casting duo.
Ches, that is a wonderful compliment, you know. just saying.
yeah. But it's an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm really looking forward to some great games, and I'm looking forward to the spice that's coming. So thanks for having me here.
Yeah, same. Particularly with the addition of new leaders, the meta has kind of taken, I'm not going to say a turn for the worse, but it's definitely taken some interesting turns. So it'll be nice to see on a larger stage how it all plays out.
So, guys, let me just check if everything is okay. To me, it's okay. So, tonight, like I said, we tell the story of the Gwent European Championship Masters. And we will just see not all the tournament, but semifinals and finals. Because, well, if you see all the tournament, we are still here tomorrow morning, so I'm pretty like to sleep.
And the king doesn't get this beautiful by going to bed late, right? So I mean, we can only watch so many games tonight, guys.
Exactly. But
This is true.
first, I think we can start to talk about the statistic of this tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So let me just disappear. 5 seconds. to share this magnificent, this beautiful screen.
It's beautiful. Never seen anything like it.
Where's my Discord? Okay. Let me just share my screen with my beautiful casters. Wonderful.
Awesome.
Get me back to my setup. Okay. Should be good. So, in this tournament, we already see that two factions that have been present just far beyond the others. I mean, Nilfgaard and Skellige, just by the presence of our friends Kra and Krayt, and Morvan Voris.
So I think what we can see here, right, is a pretty fair representation of what we see on Pro Ladder. I am actually very surprised to see Nilfgaard in number 2. I would imagine that if it was me, from what I expected, I would have expected to see Monsters and Skellige reign supreme here. Morvan is strong, but I definitely think Monsters and Skellige are better. But this does show that some people maybe were a bit scared of the Monster attacking, right? Because Monsters is probably the strongest faction right now. It's got all the top scores, and the fact that it wasn't brought by absolutely everybody tells me that people were scared of others targeting them, which happened in the recent online open qualifiers, right? For the qualifiers for the Gwent Open, a lot of people targeted Monsters, and I think that this can be reflected in this tournament, right? People were I'm guessing a little bit worried about that, and I'm a bit surprised to see a very well spread representation of all the leaders in Monsters.
Yeah, because actually Monsters has the same, nearly the same presence as Nilfgaard and Skellige with 21 decks, but as we see in Skellige, it's Quar and Krayt and Morvan Voris, when Monsters is pretty disparate with this Garnicora, Woodland Spirit, and other Eredin.
Yeah, I think they play quite similarly though as well, because like the Monsters is kind of, as Ches was saying, they are objectively the strongest faction. You know, they have the same sets of 4 provision, 4-point bronzes, except those bronzes happen to have Thrive, or they happen to be immune or whatever. So they have these sorts of things that can push them a little bit higher. And the leader doesn't necessarily carry Monsters a lot of the time, so I think that might explain the range of picks. I'm a little surprised about Unseen Elder being quite low, but as a kind of a reactive leader that kind of capitalizes on, you know, for its removal on like different situations, I suppose it's less adaptive than the likes of Garnicora. But it's nice to see the spread so broad for Monsters.
We see for Squirtle there is one leaders, really, because Ethne has only one pick. But Brewer, what do you think of Brewer right now?
Brewer's in a funny spot right now. I honestly think Brewer's the best leader in the game at this present moment. Squirtle's a bit weak. If Squirtle was stronger, Brewer would probably be seeing the same sort of play rate as Morvan and Crack. Brewer is generally 12 points, right? Because you've got Lacerate, you've got Brigade, you've got some people running Ragnarok these days, right? You've got some things that, and any of those things double Brewer's points, right? He's dealing double the amount of value, right? If you move something into Lacerate, you get in 2 on the leader charge, plus adding 2 to your Lacerate. You're adding 2 to your Crushing Trap. You're adding 2 to your Ragnarok, right? So you're giving him extra value. But he also has the ability to prevent your engines dying, which is really useful, or be able to kill engines that you wouldn't otherwise be able to kill, like a Botchling, for example, right? You can move Botchling front row and then just kill it with a Skirmisher. So you can deal 5 damage in 1 turn. So Brewer right now is the strongest leader in the game. The problem is that Squirtle's a little weak, but people are finding ways to really abuse Brewer's strength and make it work because of how strong Brewer is. Brewer's really carrying some of these decks. I think he's enabling Scoia'tael to be strong, and people have started to find ways of making Brewer really, really viable. Plus, Scoia'tael is very, very, very strong against Northern Realms. So if your game plan in a tournament like this is to target Northern Realms, Scoia'tael's the way to go. Brewer's the way to go. So I'm not surprised to see quite a bit of Scoia'tael. In fact, I'm arguably surprised to see so little. Like, I would imagine there would have been slightly more Scoia'tael with people targeting Northern Realms, because ST is the best for targeting Northern Realms if you want. It's just insta win most of the time, depending on the type of deck you bring and the type of Northern Realms deck. But no, ST is very strong against it now.
Yeah, row dependency is the only other point. Although you kind of touched on it lightly there, that there's you will counter Northern Realms, and indeed any other deck, either in the coming expansion or going forward, that has row dependent units. And the strength of the likes of Skellige is the fact that it has so few cards that are dependent on rows. So yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last thing we can see is not just to talk a bit, not the idea is not make a talk show about it, but about these decks. But Maeve, as we can see, in Northern Winds, there's no not Enselt, but Foltest. Maeve has taken the lead as Foltest was. What do you explain? How do you explain this? How do you explain that Maeve as a kick Foltest of the meta?
So the reason for Maeve being in ahead of Foltest, right, is that Foltest is basically just Maeve without the point of turn, right? Like, he means that you don't need to keep your engines alive, or what? You don't need to keep your order units alive, right? Because he instantly activates them. However, Maeve keeps them alive and generates you 1 point every other turn, right? So she not only allows you to play these order cards because they survive pretty much any removal, right? Because you buff them out of range most of the time. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will get countered, but in full test, 1 or 2 of them will get countered, right? Because you're running more than 3. You're never just running 3 in full test, right? You're running the same basic deck. The difference is that you just get +3 with full test, right? Because he only gives you +3, whereas Maeve gives you +1 every other turn. Now, there are slight differences. Obviously, Foltest does have other advantages. Maybe if you were full-on targeting monsters, Foltest might have been the way to go and not Maeve. But in general, if you just, like, for full power and stuff, Maeve's just generally better. And honestly, if you want to play targeting monsters, you just go Ada. Ada beats monsters, right? Ada's probably a better way of targeting monsters than Foltest. So I think Ada's probably more the reason that Foltest isn't seeing quite so much play, right? It's a combination of Maeve and Ada. Maeve's just generally the stronger deck, and Ada's probably better at targeting monsters, so that's probably why I would suggest.
Okay. Wivile, you have something to add about this?
I would just say that Maeve is quite vulnerable to bleed, and as you know, I mostly played Gurnakora when I was getting up towards rank 0, and I regularly found that if I bled her for even 3 or 4 turns, that a short round 3 would be virtually hopeless for a Maeve player. I don't want to say hopeless, but no time to develop engines, and if they were holding on to a Synthesis or something, or 2 orders cards in their hand, that you just need to hold on to your luck, right? And yeah, so I find that Maeve, compared with Foltest can kind of, if you try and push him, he can surprise you by using up one of his charges and getting some big tempo. If let's say you're on blue, you go a card down to take the round, and Foltest can kind of come back and surprise you, whereas Maeve, it's going to be that kind of steady development of engines, and that if you're ahead by 10 or 12 points, Maeve will always take at least 1 turn to get those points back on you if they're developing something like Okvist or Synthesis or whatever. So the dynamics of those 2 leaders are quite different, even though so it doesn't surprise me at all, honestly. Maeve is just an all-round fantastic leader, fantastic addition to the game.
Okay. I propose you to go directly to the deck list of the first semi-final, which was sent to 2X against El Truoco. So I have the deck list right here. Let me show you.
Oh boy, Santu's deck lists. I've been looking forward to seeing these degenerate deck lists, right?
Yeah, let's start with him then.
Spicy.
Oops.
Oh boy, I can tell you now, if I queued into would have not been a happy camper.
So we
Alright.
have a Brotherhood, a Woodland Spirit, a Kra and Quite, and more than Voris. Just to the chat knows that Spear 2X. Okay.
Yeah, Spear 2X.
Just to you know, the Unquite has been banned by El Truoco, and the Car Unquite has been banned by Spear 2X. So
Wasn't Improver in this matchup? Wasn't it double Improver?
yeah. Oh wait. Yes, you're right. It was Boover. It was Boover that beat Man. Meet Mike with the second semi-final was Car has been banned by the two opponents. But yes, you're right. Boover has been banned by the two players.
CDPI, if you're watching, I pay attention to everything before we start. You know, I'm a real professional. If you're watching, I pick up on these things.
So, what can we say about the deck list?
I mean,
like pretty usual instead of this Mastercraft Spear everywhere.
Yeah, I think if you just take a look at these lists, the first thing that jumps out is obviously the Mastercrafted Spear in three of his 5 lists, 3 of his 4 lists. He also, not only does he have Mastercrafted Spear, but he also has Professional in those 3 lists. He has some movement tools in NG with Fake Siri. He's got Blue Dream. Has he got Peter? I assume he has Peter. Is there a Peter in there? No Peter. I would have looking at the lists. I guess he's targeting like engine-y stuff, maybe, because like spears are great for targeting engines, right? Like they just added removal. So if you've got a spear on the board, it's +2 removal any turn you want it to, right? He's got Gimpy in there. He's got things. I'd have to look at all the lists. Looks like, yeah, he's got Enraged Different as well, and Scaldy. I would imagine looking at this targeting sort of Navy stuff like engine. If I had to guess, I would imagine that looking at it, it looks pretty removal heavy. All of his lists, right? He hasn't gone Tor with his monsters. He's gone pretty removal heavy. It looks like it's targeting some sort of engine-y stuff. I'm sure he can tell me if I'm right or not in chat, but just looking at these lists, it does look like it. The only list with 8 spears is the Bruver one, and Bruver's very strong against Meve anyway, and he's running traps and stuff to counter that sort of stuff, and lots of removal again. It looks very removal heavy. Looks like a control heavy list to me.
I also like the inclusion of Forktails in Woodland, because against another Woodland player, he can essentially just shut down anything like Neckers, although I'm not seeing Neckers as often anymore. And he can obviously combine it with the Foglets. So I think it's actually a safer proactive opener in the Ancient Foglet. So I like that. I definitely like that as well.
Yeah, he is also running Blue Dream in every deck, right? So he did say in chat that he was also targeting monsters, anything non-Slizzard monsters. And Blue Dream's a great tech, and so is Professional, right? Professional with Spears helps in that matchup. So he's basically targeting monsters and engine-heavy decks, such as Meve, right? Like it's a fairly good strategy, right? Because it looks like he's targeting both fairly well. He should have a favorable matchup in both of those, and it's very hard not to bring one of those two, unless you're going for a strategy like Santu's gone for here, right? Like that's the only way you can not bring either, right? So it seems like a fairly clever strategy. We'll see how it pans out. He's obviously done fairly well for him. He got to the semi-finals whilst playing terrible decks, so he obviously because if he doesn't queue into the things that he wants to queue into, he's going to have a bit of a hard time, right? Because they're not necessarily great against just random point spammy decks like Crackhorn, right? He's not going to have a great time against things like Crackhorn, but he will have a good time against the other ones, right? So, yeah, it looks good. Yeah, well, it doesn't look good. It looks degenerate, and I hope I don't ever face it on ladder. But it looks like a sane strategy to me. Looks like he's come up with pretty good idea.
So, just let's go to his opponent deck list, Electroco deck list. So, Troop on Mave and Brewers. and Commander's Horn on Morvan and Krah.
So
nice.
the first thing I can see here is Santu's tough time here, because there's no monsters, so he doesn't have a monsters matchup to win. There is a Meave, but it's a shoot Meave, which is a more point spammy one, so it's not as engine heavy as the version you'd want to be targeting. There's 2 Commander's Horns, which aren't gonna benefit him in slightly. Well, I mean, he's got spears to try and deny bodies, but I mean, it's gonna be hard work when like Horn's going to be really strong, right? I think this isn't necessarily the matchup he wanted to queue into. It's not great for him. Bruva Shoop is again just point spammy. It seems like quite point spammy, and he's like hard control, right, Santu? So I think this is just looking at the deck lists. It looks like a badish matchup for Santu. And now it's not terrible because Spears will be able to deny bodies for the Morvan Horn. I think Morvan Horn might be a bit difficult for Electro to get a win with, and Queen Meave Shoop because of the engines. So those 2 are the 2 chances he's got. I think Crackhorn and Bruva Shoop should just get straight easy wins for Electro here. So I think Santu's real chance here is beating Morvan, Voris, or Queen Meave. And I don't think Santu's particularly happy with this matchup. If I had to guess when he queued into this one, I imagine he wanted to face somebody else. Just looking at the deck lists.
Yeah, the lack of monsters is definitely a concern. That's all I was thinking as soon as I saw these lists. So it's and also, I mean, there's like random things to mention. Obviously, there is the inclusion of Bomb Eater into what 2 of the lists as well. So you know, if you're on Red Coin, denying even 1 spear can sort of kind of kill easily about 10 or sometimes 11 points in a round. So yeah, setting up Horn is extremely important. So again, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it doesn't look good, but
and like he said it himself in the chat, there is actually for him no artifact removals in every deck, so his spear not gonna have a good time.
I would say I feel sorry for Santu, but he brought spears, so suck it, nerd. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, Santu's a really good player, so he could very well pull some magic out of his hat. He's a very good player, one of the best community players around. In all honesty, he's one of the very best players not to have made it to an official tournament. I expect him to do it one day in the near future. So if anybody can pull this one out, it'll be Santu, and it'll be an interesting game. But it definitely looks like the odds are stacked against him.
Yeah.
That makes for good watching.
So I think it's time to let's dive into the game.
Sounds good to me.
Bring it on.
Or just find the good music to maybe a little too loud. Sorry. You see the right screen or not? Oh well, wait. Just should be okay now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start. If it doesn't bug. I hope. I hope so.
Entire stream explodes.
Oh! So we have the Santu's vision here. We just need to restart to have the Electroco vision. Electroco end.
All right, are we good?
Okay, just let me 1 second. Just to synchronize to have the both ends.
Sure.
Okay, just... Seems good now.
Alrighty then. So we see fairly standard openers from both players. Witch is coming down immediately from Electro, and Santu just using his leader ping and a boat. The boat helps him set up some bloodthirst and stuff. Do we know if deck lists were open or not? Just that will make a difference in how we whether or not they're making correct plays or not, because like Santu, if he knows the deck lists are closed, he might not want to commit spears straight away, or he might want to hold his spears for round 3. So I'm not sure if deck lists were open or not.
I believe the participants had to submit them
Okay.
in advance. Yeah, there's a
Yes.
text channel in the.
Just be fine. Be better now.
I like how Santu isn't developing spears because he's on red, so he doesn't have to.
We just wait.
For sure. So for Santu here, I mean, his hand's a little awkward, right? He's got two spears in hand, which sure is nice, but I mean, it's not a lot of tempo right there. I guess he's just trying to keep his powder dry, and he just wanted to play. Yeah. So it looks like Santu just wanted to play three cards and pass. He got a bit out of his opponent here with witches. And I guess basically you just got witches and rotate there, right? There wasn't a lot else committed. There was a bit of carryover done with the Savage Bear, but that was about it. Santu's running a bomb heaver now. I guess he probably knows why he's running bomb heaver more than me. I always think running artifact removal when running artifacts is a bad idea because of Blue Dream, but I mean,
That's true.
what do I know?
But as you say, if the deck list were public, he would know, I guess, that there was no artifacts to fear from El Troco. But yeah, I think his philosophy in the first round was essentially just to play out the cards that would, that were the least versatile, so that he could just try and counter a push. Because El Troco might be encouraged to push here, seeming as how he has a couple of sort of, we'll say, kind of freestyle turns until he gets down to 7.
So deck lists were open, so this makes a bit of sense from Santu, right? He wanted to play not a lot round 1 because he 100% knew the bleed was coming from El Troco, right? So he wants to play slow round 1, not commit anything particularly, keep all of his good cards for this round, and then just hopefully survive the bleed, right? That's his game plan. He needs to try and survive this bleed, and that's why he didn't play his witches. That's why he didn't commit Roach. He wants to for El Troco, he wants to try and get out as much as he possibly can, right? And try and force some stuff. So he played quite good tempo there with Burner, plus getting out the Morgvag and the Skirm, and now he's dropping down Harold. I imagine that's pretty much most of all of his swarmy stuff. So I imagine we're going to be seeing Horn come down as well. This is going to put Santu in a really tough spot because he wants to commit his spear, right? He wants to commit his spear. Because if he doesn't commit a spear, he's going to be in trouble, because he's going to have a dead spear in his hand that's not going to do a lot of value. But if he plays a spear, it's really low tempo, and El Troco will just play Horn and pass, and then we all know the old memes Horn pass, right? But it'll be really unfortunate for Santu in this scenario, because I mean he'll be down a lot of points.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he's forced to develop the second spear so that he can start pinging the units. But as soon as El Troco picks up on that, he's just going to drop the Horn. Because he can't get him below 5, he can't deny any value on the Horn at this point, so it's definitely a tricky situation.
And he's thinking about just going Horn here. I wouldn't be surprised to see a pass come down fairly soon. El Troco.
Yeah, it's definitely tricky. That honestly, Harold is just so strong in a medium length round for Horn. It's just.
Oh, for sure. That's why, that's one of the reasons this deck's so strong, right? Harold plus Horn is a really, really strong interaction.
We see the Savage Bear coming down here. I mean, this is kind of just filler, right? He's just trying to just play his, less versatile cards, just waiting it out. He's not under pressure now. He can just sort of sit there and play it cool.
He wants to make the round as short as possible, deny as much value as he can on that spear, and he's in a good spot, right? He's a lot of points ahead. If he passed here, Santu has to. He does know Santu still has witches left, right? Witches are what? Witches are 9. Santu's still running the bad version with Darren instead of Roach. This is a scenario where Darren is terrible, right? Where you don't actually draw round 1 or 2. This is where you would rather be running Roach than thing, but he's a big advocate of Darren. And what? So 9 would put him to 18. So 18 plus. Well, no, it'd put him to 16, right? 16. So the passy is bad for Santu. He's gonna have to go down a card. He still needs to do 6 here. He will get a leader charge. But I mean, how does he do it? He's gonna have to commit Blue Dream, right? His hand's pretty bad.
And what are his options here? I don't recall there being anything particularly useful.
I mean, there's nothing particularly useful.
Herald, I guess.
Harold's enough. To be honest, it doesn't matter, right? He's had to use the really good card that he didn't want to use, so... He's down a card, he's had to use one of his best finisher cards. It's not looking great for Santu here.
Yeah. If only he could see this rather tasty hand of his opponent.
Yeah. The one positive that Spear does allow is that even when you lose the round, your mother is still online. So that's
for sure.
That's cute, I guess. Yeah, he still doesn't have his Karen X. Here we see. I mean, hand quality isn't terrible for Santu, but obviously there's 1 or 2 good cards. He's really hoping Burner hits some good stuff, and he's hoping that his opponent hasn't drawn very well. Now, he has just hit a brick, which is really good for Santu. Santu's really happy. Well, I mean, he can't see that he's hit a brick, but I mean, he'll be pretty happy about that. Although he just unbricked it by playing his Marauder, right? So, like... Yeah,
I mean, he's trading down 2 points on Santu's Marauder, but it doesn't make any huge difference in this case.
At this point. And there's his Darren.
There's his bad card.
Yeah, there's his good old 8 provision discard. Just what you want to be doing in round 3, discarding an 8 provision card. I mean, to be honest, if you could guarantee Darren round 1 or in a favourable position in round 2, Darren would still be better than Roach, but Darren's a bit like he's expensive now, and if you don't draw him in round 1 and 2, it's a bit rough.
Yeah, Darren's like that guy that calls to the party at the wrong time every time, you know, when you never want him.
And the spear's actually not actually getting any value, right? Because he keeps killing things without actually using his spear. So that spear's not really done much this round. A lot. And he's just hoping that Jenge comes down, but I imagine we'll see Karen X.
Cairo, definitely, yep. Yeah, that Heim value though. It's just an unfortunate set of circumstances here.
For sure.
The hand wasn't the strongest, and the double spear was kind of an omen, a bad omen, I'll say.
And it's a fairly comfortable win here for Ultraco, right? 6 points he wins by, and double assay, yeah, it made it pretty comfortable for him.
Yeah, it's a little anticlimactic in a way, but it's just once I saw those 2 spears, I figured it was a recipe for not disaster, but just trouble.
For sure, there were different things that Santu could have done there. His line of play was play really bad cards at the start of round 1 and then pass early. His hand wasn't actually as bad as it could have been, which would have benefited him slightly more, right? If he could have got some, like, he had to play Uful Din was one of his bad cards he had to drop. He could have played some slightly worse ones. Alternatively, he could have pushed round 1, committed his spears round 1 because he knows because it's open deck lists, like you're not going to get great value on your spears anyway. He's going to bleed you round 2, so maybe that was the way to go. But honestly, it's a pretty tough matchup when you know your opponent's running spears. Yeah, it was a bit of a tough one there for Santu, and I think he did his best, but no such luck when your opponent's running a bomb heaver, and yeah, feels quite bad.
The decklist was open. You
Yeah.
There was a channel to watch it. Just to answer to Ekami, the chat. Let's go to the second game. We'll just start it. Right.
Alright, so Santu is probably thinking he needs to get a win in this matchup. This is probably his most favourable matchup. It's not a super great matchup because Ultraco's running artifact removal, but it's not a terrible matchup because obviously this is the one with the most engines and stuff, most things he can shut down. So he's probably hoping to God he wins this matchup. This is the one he'll probably be really hopeful that he can get a win on. He got, I guess, bad coin. I'm not sure. Because how much does he want to win round 1, and how much does... I think round 1's pretty important for him, so maybe blue coin is actually okay for him here. But we'll see.
Yeah, I drop on that TA and then Oscar Sergeant first. It's kind of important because Meave can only really remove large targets by committing one of her orders units, so he knows it's relatively safe for now.
He also knows that the deck lists are open, right? So he knows there's no Ike, so he doesn't have to worry about Ike. He knows there's no toll removal. The only way he could deal with that is Selkirk, so he's not particularly worried. So yeah, it seems like I mean, the open deck lists allow you to TA your engines if you know they're not running toll removal. If you're on ladder, you might not want to do that because Meave could easily run Ike, so you might be a little more hesitant. But with open deck lists, it's always correct to TA your Sergeant.
Yeah, for sure. We're probably going to see Wishers here. Yeah, it's sort of the way most decks go at this stage. Particularly on blue, you almost have to push your Witchers in order to kind of develop your spear, give yourself space.
For sure. I'm pretty sure Santu wants to win this round now. Not at all costs, but he'll want to commit a fair bit here and hope that his opponent doesn't have too much to push him with. He'll also be looking to deny as many buff units as he can to play around Scytheman and the guy in hand, infantry, Temerian infantry.
So he's saving that ping on the spear, perhaps in anticipation of an engine being dropped. But
of course,
that is not the case.
I think it's always correct to save your one spear charge unless you have something you actually want to kill that turn, because it just means that you've got that point, the flexible point. However, at this point he might want to use it because, again, he wants to deny as many buffed units as possible to play around the Scythemen and infantry. But he's decided that he wants to keep the charge, just try and kill an engine if an engine ever comes down.
Yeah, I mean, the spears for me have always been utility cards rather than points cards. So that's exactly how he's using them here.
He knows he's not going to get a better target with Gimpy because he knows this is a shoot deck, so he just drops Gimpy, tries to get some more damage off the board, and he gets the pass, which is...
nice. So it's an interesting hand. I mean, like, the Slave Driver and the 2 locks is quite good against Northern Realms. The 2 locks in particular. Although you will be trading down on them, so you might just hold on to the 1. Yeah, okay. Not bad mulligans.
We also see Santu playing with the English client and Ultraco using... I'm not 100% sure what language that is, but they both...
Spanish, I would say.
Is it?
Yeah.
Just thought I'd mention that, a bit of color commentary there as well, just to add to my some string to my bow, right? I pick up on all of these things when I'm casting. So Santu's got to make a decision here whether or not he wants to bleed or whether he wants to pass. I would assume he'll just pass, but the problem with passing, right, is that Meave's actually good in the long run, so if he can't stop all the stuff, he's going to be in trouble, but, I mean, his deck's designed to try and stop all the stuff, right, so...
Yeah, I mean, we've got Geralt Prof, we've got, you know, obviously Unicorn Cairo, we've got a lock, we've got Blue Dream into, well, nothing tangible yet, but if he does manage to kill something and bring it back, then it could be... So, like, he does have reactive plays, it's just he needs to make sure he doesn't make any mistakes, like...
Making
him... Like, making unranged, for example, so he... so that the Reinforced Trebuchet could be dropped early, like, that's just giving up needless points. So he just needs to make sure that...
So he's now trying to decide whether he wants the added rule of Slave Driver, which is going to be 3 points of damage because of the lock that he had, or whether or not he wanted to, or if he values the engine more so. He decided that he valued the engine, the points. He wants the points. He's feeling that he might not be able to win this with 8 points. He did want to take a mulligan there because he had Orcs in deck. He also had Spear. I think he had something else. The fact that he didn't draw Spear is actually really good for him because, as we can see, Bomb Heaver in hand of his opponent, so it's probably a good thing he didn't draw the Spear. But he definitely wanted Orcs there. He would have been... Orcs is super strong. Obviously, this is not a matchup. To be fair, against Shoop, it's less strong, right? Obviously, because they're only playing 1-ofs, but still not terrible. Orcs is still... It means your Serret is dealing 5 damage, which means he could kill Botchling here, right? It would mean that you could just get a free kill on Botchling, which he can't do because he didn't draw Orcs, which is unfortunate for Santu.
Yeah, that Botchling such a strong bait for locks, particularly early in a round. It's relatively safe. It's a 5-point gold, like 6 actually. You're always going to get 6, and it's almost always going to draw a lock from your opponent. So
perfect timing on the Shoop here. When you've got 8 points on your opponent's board, 8. The golden rule is somewhere is 7 points or upwards, right? You want to play Shoop because you'll get 11-point Shoop if you play on a 7-point board. If you get damage or hand buff, obviously you want to make sure that you've got some enough cards in hand, so you want to play Shoop as early as possible. There was 8 points on his opponent's board, so he's got a 90% chance of getting a 12-point Shoop or more. So he takes it, and it was a good shoot. It was a good shoot for him.
Yeah, that hand buff. Selkirk looking really strong right now for second.
Yeah,
second
this
to
is...
last turn play, or this is a very good position for El Trucker
for
here.
sure. If you get a hand buff with Shoop Neve, you're in a very position.
Yeah, buffing the Unicorn, the Cairo as well almost guarantees their survival. You know, buffing the Strenger means that it doesn't need to be buffed by... The buff can be used on something else, and she's already getting value when she's dropped. Like, there's just so many benefits to it. Yeah, there's El Charco has, you know, he doesn't really have a bad choice in his hand apart from the Bomb Heaver. So, it's the only aspect. That's the only aspect of Shoop in this case that would have been RNG, whether he got like a full 14 points of value or slightly less. But
feels kind of bad using your Karen X for 5 damage when you could be dealing 8. But honestly, that Anna immediately represents 7, right? Because it's going to be buffing twice. There's not a lot else he could do. I guess he could have locked it. He could have locked it.
Yeah.
I guess his thought process is that well, I mean,
it's simply if it remained untouched.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't actually lock it, to be honest. I might have locked that.
To be honest, I think Cairo probably would have been better to save for something like if he made a read on Selkirk, because
he doesn't need it for Selkirk because he's got Fake Series for the movement, so he Fake Series for the movement on Selkirk. But the Ockfist would have worked, right? He could have used that on the Ockfist. I guess he can just use the lock on the Ockfist, right? But he loses 1 point. I guess he decides that it's only a 5th. Like, Ockfist could be only buffed by 1, and then it's only a 6, which is... I guess it's the same value, right? No, it's still 1 point better. I don't know. Maybe because he wants to Blue Dream it. Maybe that's why he wants to Blue Dream mana. That would make sense, right? If he wants to Blue Dream mana, that would make sense.
Yeah, because he's still got that 1 charge left on his leader, so... I mean, if he's going to do it, now it would be a decent time, but...
But
he's professional coming down here.
The professionals to stop the Karenex getting extra value so he can't kill his engine, which makes total sense. Maybe his idea was that he wanted to Blue Dream the Ana, but he just hasn't had room to do it yet.
Yeah, he's still because as soon as that unicorn came down, he knew that there was a Karenex that would have unbuffed the Ana Stranger had he brought it back at that point. So he had to play the girl professional. All right, looks like now he's going for the Blue Dream. Is he going to go for the Stranger? Yes, he is. Okay.
Unfortunately for Santu, Altroco has Karenex in hand, so it's just going to be Karenex immediately. But it's still not a bad Blue Dream. It's still a 6-point Blue Dream. It's not great, but...
So Altroco holding onto that Selkirk for as long as possible. As you say, since the deck lists are public, he is obviously making a read on False Theory, and he's probably trying to wait it out. But unfortunately, he does not have last card, so...
So, Altroco is up 7 here, up 7, plus he's got a 7-point... Okay, so he's got a 7-point Ockfist here, so he's kind of up 6 at this point, but he's going to probably get 8 points on his Ockfist, so he's kind of up... So he's got an 8-point Ockfist, and he's down 2, so it's... Is it going to get moved? Okay, he just takes it in. I was going to try and work out how many points he has. It looks like this is... I mean, it is a win. It's definitely a win for Santu. But it was fairly close, and this is the matchup that Santu really wants to win, right? He really wants to win this one. Trucko didn't have that... Oh, is it a win for Santu?
Actually, wait, he doesn't have Roach, right?
Yeah, it's not a win for Santu. My bad. I'm an idiot. My maths is bad.
Oh, yeah. So you only get the 1 point on the... Yeah, so it's only 47. That math, though. Is that another thing you want CDPR to see? Your awesome math skills?
2 points. 2 points away of the win to Santos. Yes, the use of this fake series is pretty interesting because it's a card that you don't see very much actually in Gwent. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like he said in the chat, it's pretty awesome against Northern Rim, but I think in tournaments it works, but I don't think on ladder it will work well.
Yeah, when you're targeting things, Fixer is fine if you're doing some targeting stuff. It's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, Santu got pretty unlucky there, right? He didn't draw his Orcs. If he draws Orcs, he's in a really good spot. His Seret can kill Botchling at the start, and then he's got another answer. So he basically, by not drawing Orcs, he lost 2 answers, which was really painful for him, right? If he has 2 more answers that game, he wins easily because he can answer Ockfist. It's just an easy win if he gets Orcs there. Honestly, he could have changed pretty much any card in his hand for Orcs, and he probably wins, apart from Seret, I guess. Although even if he swaps Seret for Orcs, he still has 1 more answer. So I think if he draws Orcs, he's in a really good spot there. But unfortunately for him, he didn't. Yeah, it was a bit of a rough one for Santu, and he really needed that win because that was one of the matchups. Like that was probably going into that thing. That was probably the matchup he was targeting, right? Because quite often you go into matchups, right, and you see deck lists, and you know that there's going to be one pivotal matchup that you need to win, right? And that was one of the. He will have gone into that matchup being right. That this is a pivotal game. I have to win this if I'm going to have a chance of winning this series, and he lost it. So he's he's probably not feeling too good about himself right now because that will have been one of the matches he really wanted to win, and it didn't go his way. Partly because of some bad draws, right? He got a little unfortunate with his draws, and he'll be kicking himself about that, and blaming RNGesus and whatnot. So.
Yeah, particularly the round 3 mulligans. You know, I sort of observed the mulligans throughout the game, and although he had 2 locks, you know, at the start of round 1, like I knew that one of them was going to be bled out somehow in round 1, and then the other one, you know, he was saying, "Oh, I'll probably get my Ox anyway, so I'll still have 2 locks for round 3," and unfortunately, that's not what ended up happening. So yeah, and it's it's one of those matchups that it's favorable. I don't know, I'd like to sound cliche or whatever, but it's favorable until it isn't. Basically, if you're expecting to get, you know, all the parts of your toolbox that you need, but you don't get, you know, like the Ox for me is the same. It's just you don't trade down on engine denial, which is what makes Ox so good. So yeah, it's just unfortunate the way it worked out.
Yeah. Third game is ready.
Okay.
Let's go.
It's my boy, Big Boy Woodland. All right.
Well, it's not Big Boy Woodland though. It's Control Woodland, right? He's running Control Woody or Gurney or whatever.
Yeah.
There's not a single big boy in this list, I don't believe.
Yeah, it's Big Boy mid-range Woody.
It's just Control Woody. This same sort of list that teammate of mine, Ace Bowman, brought to the Open qualifiers and did it extremely well with. Actually, he was targeting me in that, and he brought the spears and it did really well. It's not necessarily a great ladder deck, but if you're going for a targeting strategy, this deck is very strong.
Yeah, just looking at his hand here, he definitely has so many great options. He's got the Unicorn, the Cairo. He's got the first of his Crones. Don't really expect to see the Forktail coming out in this round, given that he didn't, you know, develop the Ancient Foglet because he's on blue, but it will definitely be useful later on. And of course, one of the, you know, the greatest benefits of Blue Dream right now is the fact that everyone's running Unicorn Cairo next, so you can just steal the other part that you need. It's probably the safest option in a tournament where you see the lists, you see Unicorn Cairo next in almost every deck, and yeah, pretty much just steal it when you need it.
For sure. Playing a little slow here with the Ancient Foglet, but he knows it's just added points on his Folktail. That's really bad for Santu though. He's pretty.
Yeah,
pretty
he's losing a lot of value there.
So he commits a decent card here, anti-A, because he probably is thinking to make the pass. None of the cards left in his hand are particularly anything he wants to commit here.
Yeah, it's definitely unfortunate. Whenever you develop the Ancient Foglet, if it's disrupted even by anything, then you're essentially are either forced to commit one of your goals or forced to TA and pass.
Luckily for Santu, Trucko decides to take the pass himself.
Yeah, certainly fortunate. I expect one of the Forktails to go here. Yeah. Nithro as well. Nice.
I think it's a little risky for Santu to be running Artifact in all of his lists. Now, Nithro's a really good card in this current meta on Proof of Traps and stuff. I think Santu's argument was he wants to be better against Ada. Because he needs some removal because he's obviously targeting Northern Realms and monsters, and Ad is one of the Northern Realms decks that he would want to target. But it does make him more susceptible to things like
El Choco taking a dig at Santu there by getting rid of one of those spears. This is actually something I'm not sure about. If the Crone's ability doesn't actually engage with a unit, does it still count towards the other Crone's
yes.
boosted thing? So even if she doesn't consume, it's still boosted forward.
So it's just a carryover play.
Right. So the pass coming in here.
Let's see the Infiltrator. Let's make this move in the deck list.
And we see him drawing that Commander's Horn. That is definitely going to be useful in a long round. You can get a two unit stack with a seer, and then you should be able to pick up the rest quite easily.
He's a bit annoyed there. He really wanted to find one of his last 2 gold cards.
Yeah, so the Nithril is unfortunate. 2 Forktails as well is a little bit iffy. Particularly if he's trying to deny value on. Well, actually, looking at El Troco's hand, there's a lot of so much of his hand is reactive. So that Arc Spore being developed, fairly standard opener, particularly when you're going second. It's fairly low risk.
And also a fairly standard opener from Ultraco, right, with the big 6-point dude. It's actually a really good proactive play, the Nilfgaardian Knight. The change to the Nilfgaardian Knight is really, really nice.
Yeah, it used to just, blow itself up. Yeah, it's really good, particularly against monsters, because, if you do it in round 1, they can't develop their riders immediately, and so forth. So looks like the Asir is going to come down. And there is everyone's favorite horse.
Yeah, it's a little fortunate there for Ultraco. The roach jumped in the back row. But I mean, it's 50-50, right? It's that unheard of. I'm surprised.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm surprised Santu didn't move one of the 3s there, because Karanex will kill that 4 in the back row. So if he's trying to deny as many units in the back row as he possibly can, maybe he should have moved the 3 to the front row, because then he gets, like now at the moment, he's probably gonna professional the Azir, and then obviously he wants to Karanex something else in the back row. But by moving the 4, he's only got a 3-point body in the back row. Not that it matters now, because there's a body in the back row.
I mean, you've also got to think about Forktail. If he moves to 3, he can kill it with a Forktail.
I guess, yeah, he would lose a point on his second Forktail. That's true. Yeah, so that makes sense. Does make sense. Also, I guess it plays into slave infantry as well. So ignore me. It's probably correct to move the 4. Yeah, moving the 4 was probably the correct play there, because.
Yeah, I think based on Santu's pattern of play, though, he definitely senses the horn. I mean, but it's kind of like when you see a freight train coming towards you and you can't really do a lot about it. I think either way, El Troco is going to get 5 units. So.
Can't say I've ever been in the position where I've had a freight train coming towards me, so I wouldn't know. But it does sound scary.
It certainly is. The very first film ever shown in cinemas in the late 1890s was a train pulling into a station, and over half the people in there just ran out of the cinema because they didn't. It's the first time they'd ever seen anything on a screen moving towards them. Random anecdote.
And that is why Weevil is on the casting team, guys.
Anecdotes.
Here is a home.
There is the horn. 15 pointeroos. That is a lot of pointeroos, right?
I love how the last 4 cards in everyone's hand is always Unicorn, Karanex, and 2 other cards.
2 of the gold cards.
He who plays Unicorn first loses. not in this case, but
Double buffed it to play around the professional. Very smart.
or just a player on the Karanex if he doesn't buff it at all.
Yeah, no, the first buff was to play around Karanex, right? The second buff is to play around professional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is not looking great for Santu here.
Yeah,
I hate to
not
say it.
Not great value on that professional at all.
I mean, the value on the professional is fine, but he's down 19 points on even, so. I
Indeed.
guess he's down 19 points up a cap, still down a lot.
And 8
Yes.
points in the bank with Woodland.
I guess it's 6 points, right? Because he still has one charge or more.
Mm-hmm. Looks like he might be dropping his leader now.
You always want to drop leader on the first one you play. Downside to this is he has last say, though he doesn't want to drop it because of Peter, but he does want to drop it to protect it from Karanex, so.
Yeah, it's somewhat of an Owen scenario. He's essentially trading with Peter on the points from his leader. So.
Mm-hmm.
So basically his leader was a 2-point leader. 3-point leader, sorry, 3-point leader. Because he would have got 3 points on the reset anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, so yeah.
But I mean, you consider the points he's getting back on the Kyronex because of that exchange. I suppose it's not the worst. But
Yeah, I guess it's extra points on the Karanex too, +4. Okay, he's like a 7-point-ish leader, kinda. Yeah, it's not terrible.
Semantics.
It's not enough, but
Yeah. So this will be 12 again.
he should actually ended up being fairly close.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for Santu, that is a 0-3 showing, and Altraco's done really well, right? He did really well to manage to get it, navigate that. It was a very favourable matchup for Altraco, and I don't think Santu played anything particularly wrong, and I didn't see any serious misplays or anything. He seemed to, I mean, he made plays that I even that were correct that I couldn't even tell when I was casting it. So yeah. I think he played pretty well, Santu there. It's a little unfortunate for him to be queued into Altraco there, but I mean, what can you do? That's what happens when you bring a lineup like Santu did, right? If you're not bringing strong lineups, like just generally strong lineups and targetable lineups, you hope that you queue into a matchup that you want and don't get counter queued, and he got counter queued into somebody who had a really strong lineup against him. So it's a little unfortunate there for Santu, but I think he can be proud of his performance with such a target heavy list.
Yeah, it's at least a top 4 at the Gwent European Championship, and that was not very simple to get this semi-finals. So congratulations, Sam Cooks, for your tournament. Then we will have the second semi-finals, which between Pajabal and Camps. Pajabal was this decklist, Boover, Krahenkret, Garnicora, Marvren. Krahenkret has been banned by his opponent.
Mm-hmm.
So that means we have your first Boover Hog of this night. And your first Garnicora too.
Mm-hmm.
So, what can we say about the decklist right now?
So, Patch has brought big Gurney, just standard big Gurney. He's brought fairly standard mid-range Moron. I don't see anything uber spicy there. He has got Manlios, who may be slightly tech. Looks like he's probably slightly teched for monsters, because he's got Immerus Wrath in his monsters list. He's got Werecap. Both of those are very good techs for the mirror. In his mid-range monsters, he's got Leo and Blue Dream. In his crack, he is running Heim, which is just basically insta-win against any... I mean, it's not insta-win, but it's very, very strong against monsters, along with Blue Dream and Ufaldin. It looks like an identical list to the one that I run. And then he's bringing Shoop ST with... interesting, he's got Ithlin and Sheldon for an extra finisher. He's running D shackles. I mean, I guess he just has a bunch of terrible cards to fit in Ithlin Sheldon. That is the downside to running Ithlin Sheldon, right? You have to run a whole bunch of terrible cards. But yeah, it looks like he's possibly soft targeting monsters with Blue Dream in every deck, bar his monsters deck, which is sort of tech for the mirror. But I think basically what Padge has gone for here is just gone for really mid-rangey, well, not mid-rangey, but really just standard solid lists that he's comfortable with, decks that he feels are very strong, and decks that he's comfortable with, right? Because I think Padge has the second highest ST score this season, and I'm pretty sure he did it with that list because I queued into him once. So I think these are just lists he's very comfortable with, and his game plan is outperform all of his opponents. He's gone for the old Colomoan game plan, right, of just outplaying all of his opponents, and we'll see how it turns out.
He said in the chat he soft-targeted monsters and other rim, and the Jackals is here to counter Meve.
Okay.
Let's go to the Camp's deck list. So Marvan, Queen Maeve, Woodland Spirit, and Kahan Crate. The card has been banned by his opponent. Has been banned by his opponent. So the three first one. No Shoop. It's a Meve with a Shoop. Why not?
Meve with a Shoop. I mean, I guess it's just through the fact that he wants to be it's not actually the Meve mid-range, because Meve mid-range is actually being played quite a bit now. That's another Colomoan special. He's running double Lacerate, I believe. I believe it was Colomoan that brought it. I may be wrong. Somebody else might have popularized it, and he might have net decked them. But that's one that is being run. I guess his idea is that he just wants to, it's kind of like a greedy lineup. T-Ball. What else is he running with his T-Ball? Anything in particular to? Just T-Ball is a strong card, I guess. T-Ball's reasonably strong. Is he targeting anything here? I guess he's kind of. He's probably targeting monsters, right? Because Ike and Vincent are in there, so he's targeting big monsters. Because he's got Leo, he's got Blue Meme, he's got Peter, and then in his Nausicaa Brigade, yep. And then in Meve, he's got Ike and he's Vincent. In monsters, he's got Yurden, which is really, really mirror. And then in crack, he's got Professional. He's not running the Heim version, which is probably better, but I mean, the Professional Ufaldin are both very strong. Yeah, I guess. And as Santu pointed out, I actually did misspeak there. Padge has the third highest ST score. I keep forgetting that Adzikov has a higher one. I mean, Adzikov's got a higher score than everybody, right? I just forget about him most of the time. Like, Adzikov is inherently, he's always got great scores. So, yeah, my apologies. Adzikov is actually second, I think, for ST right now. But I think it's like 1 point, 1 or 2 points. Although, Philo's actually now also got a really good score, so I guess he's fourth. Philo's also gone. So my bad, my apologies.
Before to switch to the game, just to everyone knows, we will not run the first game of the semifinals because it's a tie between Morvan and Morvan. So the next game is actually Morvan versus Morvan. So it's not a big added value to show the first one. But let's go.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Oh no. Well, no, it's Boover versus. It was Boover versus Morvan for the first one. Sorry. Let's just make cake. We will not have the point of view of cards due to a bug in this record. So we'll just have to.
It'll be a mystery.
Yeah.
So that as you were saying, Ches, about trading down on provisions in order to fit in the Island. He's got a lot of 4 provision cards, 7 if I remember correctly. So that's what round 1 is for, I guess.
Yeah, it's always nice to be on red coin, right? When you've got that many bad cards that you can just drop free.
For sure.
I mean, he's drawn his most important card, right? He's got Shoop, so he's probably pretty happy.
Yeah.
There are some bad cards here. You see Cams just go straight for the engine and buff it because with the TA, it's fairly standard right here. You know your opponent's not running any toll removal and open deck lists. It makes a lot of sense.
Oh, that Gimpy coming down early here.
The Gimpy's fine because he knows that he's not going to get better value on the Gimpy, so he knows this is Shoop. He knows that that's the most value he's ever getting, so he snaps it up nice and quick. The Roach has blocked his engine, so he's a little bit annoyed about that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I would find it a little strange to be running the two of them, running the Roach and the Magni division, because they would tend to block each other. Well, statistically,
you can't run NG with a Roach, and Magni for a long time was uncuttable. It is cuttable now, but I mean, it's still a decent card. It's only 50-50 that it bricks. A lot of people have cut Magni since the nerf, but it's still not a bad card, especially if that doesn't happen. If you manage to not play any gold cards for the first few turns, then yeah, and your Magni doesn't get answered, it's still going to be a 5 or a 6 for provisions, which is pretty good. Obviously here it was just it was a 4 for 4 provisions, which is pretty standard, right? So it's still not terrible. There is a bit of anti-synergy there. And as we can see here from Patch is just playing some.
He's just playing for value, really. I think with 4 and 5 provisions.
Yeah, he's just playing as many bad cards as he can get away with here, while staying in the round as long as he can. So that tells us that Cams has Orcs in hand. He's playing as many bad cards as he can whilst he can still overcome in 1. That's basically the thing.
Yeah.
You can overcome in 1 with Witches if he plays one of his bad cards. The question is, does he want to play Witches this round? I would imagine so, because he wants to thin, like there's no downside to it. I assume he's running Roach. I can't actually remember if he was running Roach or not, Patch, but I assume so.
Yeah, this is kind of Gwent on Red Coin 101. Just get away with as much as you can, and then pass.
So yeah,
come down here?
I assume there is Roach, and he'll have to commit 1 leader charge. He will have made that calculation and decided that it was a fair trade for him. Be enough that trade, 1 leader charge for the rain control. Not the greatest of draws there.
No, and I think based on this, I wouldn't think he'd be pushing this round at all.
No.
Yeah, we see the dry pass coming in. So the Sheldon, rather unfortunate, although he does have to shoot, and he mulligans into Ithan. That's actually quite fortunate. It's actually looking pretty good, honestly.
I mean, his hand's pretty much perfect. That's if Patch could pick around 3 hand, it would be pretty much this. Maybe get rid of the healer, but other than that, his hand's pretty strong. Pretty happy about this. And with a hand this strong, he's got a very good chance. I guess he didn't get the Brigade. That was actually one card he would have very much liked. He would have swapped the healer for Brigade, because Brigade's pretty strong.
Wondering if he's going to Panther and then Archer.
He might leader charge, because he has no other uses for his leader, right? If he's going to use damage, then okay, he doesn't use leader.
Yeah, I think maybe he doesn't want his opponent to know he has no other uses for him, so maybe he's trying to save them.
But I mean, killing an engine's great, right? I guess his plan is to kill it with Milan or something next to him.
Looks like he's gone for another charge. I mean, if anything, the Panther baited out the charge. So
here comes the Shoop.
Everyone's favorite card. Yep. Probably hoping. So the 9 damage.
Does it kill his engine?
Does it kill it? No. He has the archer anyway, it's fine. For the 2 damage.
I mean, it's not ideal, right? Because he loses 1 point now on his archer to kill it, but it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah, losing 1 to deny, maybe. I don't know. I guess he'll have to use melee or something then. Or he's going to try and kill it the slow way. I mean, every turn he's not killing it, he's losing another point, so he's going to go for one of his charges.
So he does end up killing it with a charge. He probably should have done that at turn 1 when I suggested, but there we go. I mean, it's fine. Like, it doesn't make much. He probably did lose it. He lost a few points by not using the leader charge right at the start, right? But it's a fair enough leader charge, right? He has no brigade, so it's not like he has anything to leader it with, so...
He said chat he wanted to leave Brewer for ponies. So for Licon and Kironix.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining at that, right? That he wanted to use 1 on his pony, but like he had 2 charges, right? So I was just thinking that maybe 1 isn't the end of the world using it, and he ended up committing 1 anyway. So
see that Tibor coming down. Pretty much always going to get value from that card, unless you happen to.
Unless you're against like Northern Realms and you pull an orders unit.
Yeah.
Or a really strong engine. If you pull a really strong engine or an orders unit, it can be kind of bad. Also, if you use it against monsters and monsters ends up hitting
Goliath or something.
Or Goliath or something, it can be a bit bad. But I mean, against ST, it's always going to be fairly decent value.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those cards that will always be good. Like irrespective of expansions or anything else, it'll just always have that kind of risk factor attached to it. All right, we see a meaningless lock coming down. And I wonder is there anything that Pajabal is trying to play around right now, or is it just going for value?
I mean, I guess he's playing around Leo. He's probably playing around Peter. He's probably playing around Blue Meme. These are probably the cards I would imagine he's thinking about playing around. Don't think he's going to be playing into Leo. Can he play into Blue Meme? Not really, right? Is Cam's running any rogue punishment like last rate? Don't think so, right?
Up.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list here. It doesn't look like it. No.
Okay. Was he running Ifrit? Was Cam's running Ifrit?
Just let me check.
I assume not, because he didn't buff his Karanex, so if he's not running... I would imagine if he was running Ifrit, he would have used the leader charge on Karanex then. No, Ifrit.
No Ifrit.
Played around the Leo very nicely. He couldn't get full value there. Pretty good for him. He wants to make sure he kills something here, because he doesn't want to give him value on Peter. So he doesn't want to deal 7 damage to Tibor and give him a Peter.
Deny a few points there. Yep, nicely done.
So I imagine to see Blue Dream here for Azir for 9-point play. And he finishes off with the 12-point play. Plus leader for 14. Oh, unless Gimpy's more. Is Gimpy more than 9? Or is Gimpy... Oh, Gimpy's 9 as well.
It's still 9, but yeah.
I guess it's slightly better distributed.
Very nice.
And first victory to Padzabot, and go back to the casters.
Mm-hmm.
So, what do you think of the first game?
Yeah, I think it was well played.
The good skill of top deck of Padzabot.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you see it in all the top players, right? They one of the inherent abilities that you need if you want to be a top player is the ability to master the draws, the top decks, right? And
Heart of the cards.
yeah, he really nailed it in that last one. It's something I need to work on myself. But no, honestly, I mean, sure, yeah, he drew well. There's no denying that Padge drew well there, but it doesn't. I don't want to distract away from his play. He played around all the cards that he needed to, right? He played around the Leo. He played around Peter as best he could. He played around Blue Dream. Yeah, he even played around Nilfgaardian Knight into Leo, right? He played around that combo. So yeah, I think he played it pretty well. Without being able to see exactly how, like, it's harder to tell how well Camps plays because even though I see all the cards he plays, I don't know what cards he had available at the time, and then it's hard to remember back what cards he played back. Like, if I can't see his hand, it's harder to tell. But I didn't see any glaring misplays from Cam's either, so I think they both played it fairly well. And I think Cam's deck is just, I mean, honestly, I think if Prover Shoop draws well against Morvan Shoop, it's probably slightly favoured. I think it's pretty strong as Prover Shoop. So I think it was a pretty nice matchup there for Padge, and he got the win. So
okay, let's deep dive in second game with Nilfgaard against Nilfgaard.
I think these lists are actually quite different, so this will be interesting to see.
Yeah. And you are 100 on the stream. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks so much, guys.
make sure you're hitting that follow button, guys.
Pondering his last mulligan, deciding on the slave driver. Okay.
So no witches in the opening hand on blue. That's the greatest feeling in the world. He's also got two plays he wants to start off with. He decides to start off with the engine. But he had two plays there that he would like to have started with, Guardian Knight and engine.
Yep, deciding not to TA the engine.
Yeah, TA in here would be terrible because he knows he's running Leo, right? So he just plays immediately into Leo for no reason. It also plays into Peter because, like, that's a good Peter target. He could have leaded it, but then again, he's just playing into Peter slightly more. He's willing to accept the fact if he's got Seret that he's going to be slightly annoyed, but
yeah, but even now, like by choosing not to use a charge, he's already in a pretty sad spot.
yeah, this is rough. No witches, right? One, not great for him.
See the Ifrit coming down early.
Yeah, you know the Ifrit will not have the impact you want he have in other matchup like in Kironex or Licon, so you can use it pretty early to kill an engine matchup.
And this should be enough to get his pass now.
And the Leo comes down anyway.
Whoa, I see round 1. Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to try and play some tempo here, right? He's trying his hardest to not lose this round uneven. But without drawing witches, he's in a real tough spot. He's in a very tough spot. You could play Leo here for 8, but I mean, that only puts him up by 5. I guess he could use a leader charge, put himself up 7. But then Cam's just counters it with a leader charge, and then again, he's only down by 5, so he just needs to play a 6. It's pretty awkward here for for Padge. I
Yeah.
guess he's going to buff the Serret and then play Leo next. So his Leo is going to be a 10, which is still quite nice, still quite tasty.
Yeah, I mean, if Cam's pushed them here, I don't see him getting out of the round, except on losing on equal. Ooh, interesting prediction there by Cam's. Trading down, but denying the Leo value. Although he can still get some points on the Leo with the 3-point Witchers, but he's still gaining a point.
So he just played a 3-point Slave Infantry instead of a 7-point Infantry. So he lost 4 points on his Infantry to deny 4 points on Leo. That can never be correct, right?
I don't imagine so. No.
Am I wrong? Like, am I? Is chat gonna tell me that was a genius play there by Cams, or am I right? The maths doesn't check out. Can't. I'm really tired tonight, guys. So my maths skills are probably letting me down on this cast, but it seems like it was probably a misplay, or like because you're playing around a potential card and not even getting any value on it.
Yeah, he was trading down 2 in the Slave Infantry in order to deny a Leo which may or may not exist. So on that basis alone, it's kind of an interesting decision. Slightly safer decision on red, but still quite odd.
Santu's saying that he doesn't understand it either. Plays around blue meme? I mean, sure. Yeah, it seems odd. I mean, this is still a very favourable position for Cams, but that Slave Infantry didn't make any sense. Wow, when he still has to commit it with Unicorn. I mean, he gets the round. Padge managed to keep his card. I think he only used 1 leader charge, right? Did I miss one?
Padge has used 1. Cams has yet to use any.
Yeah. So I think Padge is pretty happy with that in the end. I think he feels like, wow, I managed to just about got away with that. Well, I say got away with it. He got very unlucky. Witches round 1, right? The fact that he didn't draw Witches cost him there. But he's probably pretty happy that Cams had to commit Unicorn to take the round after he used Unicorn. So he didn't actually commit super overcommit to get out of that round because he ended up forcing Cams into using his Unicorn anyway. It'd be interesting to see if he decides to discard Peter or just let him draw all those 3. Honestly, you might be better off just letting him draw all 3 of those. He does decide to get rid of it. The reason I was going to say that he might be better off just letting him draw all 3, right, is that you've already used your Unicorn, right? So, but I guess you've got the blue meme onto Unicorn. So he's probably thinking, well, if I do end up blue meme in the Unicorn, I don't want him to just immediately Peter it. So probably why he got rid of the Peter.
Those Witchers just
does he
loving him right now.
Yeah, does he greet his last mulligan?
It depends on whether or not he thinks he can win them with this hand. If he thinks he can win with this hand, then no. And he obviously thinks he can win with this hand. He has to lead Knight. Well, he doesn't have to lead Knight because of Leo, but you would imagine he wants to lead Knight. He decides to go with Witches. Probably a smart move because I don't know, would Cams ever lead Tibor here just to try and brick Witches? Potentially. The problem with doing that is he plays immediately into Leo, so I would imagine he wouldn't have. So I would probably have still gone Knight first. But I guess his game plan is that Cams probably won't play Tibor until his final card, so he won't get Leo onto Tibor anyway. So he needs Knight set up for Leo. I guess that's his plan. But he hasn't seen Orcs yet, so unless Cam's mulliganed away Orcs, probably still get one anyway.
Easy luck there. Dropping on that engine. Even trade. Prize isn't for casters, Osmani says. Fantastic prizes from CDPR.
Wait, I don't know. There's no prize. What the hell am I doing this cast for? You tricked me.
Flips table. That's the sound of him getting up from his chair and walking away.
So I'm guessing. This is probably Surrey here. Like, he doesn't really have any other place. He obviously wants to hold on to his knight for to buff something for Leo, and he doesn't want a blue dream or Karen X immediately here. He didn't have full value. I mean, that's full value on Surrey. It's not really. He doesn't really want to be playing Surrey there, but he had no other place, so Surrey's not like terrible for him. So he can just play his Surrey. Moves on with his life. So is there any punishment for Karenex and his Karenex and then leader charging his own Karenex? I don't know. I guess, so the reason that Cams didn't buff his Karenex, right, is he can't get anything up to 6 points. He can't play any 6-point cards because he knows there's a knight still in Padge's deck, right? So he needs to make sure nothing goes to 6 so that Padge can't then buff it to 8 and give himself a Leo target. So that's why Cams didn't buff his Karenex. Now, I guess the reason that Padge isn't buffing his Karenex is because that there's nothing he's scared of. But he should have buffed it, right? Because he didn't play around that blue dream. I don't see any other upside to keeping his leader charge. I don't think that Cams can do anything. So I think that was a misplay.
Yeah.
I'm sure Padge. I'm sure that somebody in chat can tell me if I'm wrong on that. But I feel like that one was a slight misplay, and it could cost him.
I'm pretty agree with you. I think it's some misplays, and in fact, Leo was gone, Peter was gone, so his opponent hasn't any tools to remove his own Earthly Connect, despite this Blood Dream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Padge just said that he did misplay. He should have. It's not a massive, like it is some points he lose. So what did he end up? He slave infantry to 1, so he got a 9 instead of a 12. I mean, it's a little so yeah, he lost 3 points there. I guess he loses 3 points. It's looking fairly good for Padge here. Cams can only either have Peter or
Not ads. There is a surround.
Thibault. Oh, he couldn't have Peter, right? Because he did that. So that's 2-0 to Padge, right?
Yep, looks like it.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming, right, if he knighted on his next last turn, his last card was either Azir or Thibault, and he had no way of playing around the Leo. Because you would never play knight there, playing into it, if he had another card that stopped it, right?
I was carried. Ready for the third game?
Sure.
Yep, bring it on.
Oh.
From a strictly selfish point of view here, I hope Padge wins so that we can have our break. But we'll see how this goes. Versus what Crack was it? Was it Crack I saw? No, Crack was banned, right?
Crack was banned, and
I'm sure we'll see it in a second. Morvan. Gurney versus Morvan. This could probably be quite tricky because the Morvan list is running Blue Dream, Leo, and Peter. The good thing for Padge is that Monsters is absolutely ridiculously strong, right? So you can, if you know that they're running these counters, you can potentially play around them and still have more points than them. Potentially. It's going to be tough though. This is a favourable matchup for Cams, I would suggest.
So the Mighty Division obviously going to be denied by the Drowner, I suspect, or just killed. It's just one of those cards that doesn't gel well with the Monsters faction. Mm-hmm. So I fully suspect it'll be sniped at some point.
It's just going to drain right now, I imagine.
Yeah.
Get it off the board. Get a peace of mind. Yeah.
I mean, there was an argument to either consume or toss it, because then you're not trading down a point on the fruit. But it's still fine.
I'm surprised he didn't play them front row so that he could potentially snipe the what's it called in the back row with a Cyclops next to him.
Yeah, I mean, that this is the beauty of Gurnikora for me, is that your opponent is constantly looking at the value of your fruit and your Thrive units, because at any moment you can toss the fruit away, kill an engine, and they're essentially trying to play their engines a turn early so that
Smart.
so the opponent potentially drops so the Gurnikora player potentially drops a point on killing the engine. But
I'm not sure. I still think it was probably better for him to play Riders front row and then Cyclops and kill the dude, but the way he did it means that he can do it through the fruit, which is nice as well. So I think this is a fine line of play. I'm not 100% sure which one's better. I'm like I said, I'm a bit tired to do the maths and stuff, but it seems like a fit. It looks pretty good for Paggia. He's looking quite nice. He's got quite a healthy lead, right? He's up by 6. He's still got TA, so he's technically up by like 11 if he wants to be. Pretty sure you just TA that damaged Cyclops, because you don't care if he Leos that. You're really happy if he Leos that 8-point Cyclops. So as much as, even though he is playing into Leo, that's perfectly fine, right? You don't mind him. That's a perfectly fine Leo for him to take, right? It's a really strong Leo, but it's like it could be a lot worse in this matchup. So I think Padge is okay with giving him a Leo on that.
Yeah, that said, we probably will be seeing a pass from Paggia soon either way, given that there are things in his hand that he doesn't necessarily want to use. So there we go. Pass coming in from Cams.
I don't think there was a lot Cams could do there, and this is where it gets awkward, right? Because now the Monsters player has the last say in round 3, so he can easily play Reigns, Blue Meme, and the likes.
Yep, absolutely. There's the detect artifact removal coming down, and yeah, this isn't quite strong. I suspect to see the Osrel disappearing, and
that's nice.
Yeah, not bad at all. But his deck, he's weeping at the spear tip.
Yeah, I mean it's a little unfortunate, but at the same time, right? Like, how many big boys does he want? Because he can only really play one, right? He can only really play one in round 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Leo. I guess he could play 2, because if he Leos it, then you can Osrel it. I guess 2 would have been fine. 2 would have been nice. Yeah, his hand could definitely be a lot better than it is right now. There's no denying his hand's not.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember the graveyards for Osrel and what the max value. It's probably no more than
probably a 6, right?
7 is the first copy of the Nilfgaardian Knight in the grave.
Yeah, probably so.
So yeah, 7. It's never ideal. I mean, you could always throw out the Goliath early as bait, and then hope that it dies, and then. But that's just.
I mean, I assume that that's what he's gonna do.
But...
Because he'll just. Oh boy. I assume that he'll be holding Osrel till last. Maybe not. Maybe he just plays. I don't know.
It's actually not an awful Cyclops here, but.
So that Cyclops was worth 7 to him.
Yes.
He denies Tooth Thrive, so it's worth 7. Gives him a 7-point Peter.
Yeah, and of course Cam's with all of his charges left as well, so You could potentially protect the Kyra next here.
Cams is pretty happy to see that. Although
Yeah.
Cams is running T-ball, right? So I mean, the upside of having Spear Tip in deck is when he plays T-ball,
Yeah.
got the chance of it being a 0-point play, right?
But what if it pulls out Caldwell? What if it pulls out Caldwell? and
That's a
then
23 point. Oh my god, 23 point.
But doesn't Tibor just how can you say that?
it says top unit rather than highest.
No, it's the lowest card, no?
No. T-ball's
top,
top
the
card
top,
in
okay.
the deck. It has synergy with Trahun. Can Trahun first and see what it's gonna.
Mm. Yeah, it would be nice to see some kind of humor in the game.
T-ball, yeah. So is T-ball going to be a 0-point play or a 23-point play? Find out.
Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. You know.
Yeah.
I think more people need to play Tibor just for this reason, to add a bit of tension. You know.
For sure. Yeah, this hand's a bit.
Meh.
Yeah, it's not the best hand in the world from Patch here.
I'm curious as to why the Ozra was held, because he had it since round 1, but it was just priority of mulligans, I guess. So he didn't really. He had to kind of make a choice.
I mean, I've never actually played Big Gurney because I'm a Slizzard slave. I don't like to think when I play the game. I like to just go on autopilot. But I mean, my experience is the Gurney's supposed to bleed, right? But I guess it's a bit hard to bleed in this matchup when your opponent's got a lot of answers to total units.
Yeah, but with the prevalence of Blue Dream, you can the only safe big unit that you can commit in round 2 is Caldwell, because your opponent
For sure.
won't ever steal it.
Yeah, I mean. I think at this point he just has to bite the bullet and play into Leo.
Yeah, he's thinking about the Goliath.
Because you can't play around Leo, right? If he holds Leo to his last card, there's nothing that you can do here as Patch. So, I mean, I guess you could play Ozral first and then go Wrath, but I would probably just bite the bullet and play Goliath here and hope that he hasn't got Leo. I mean, he's obviously got Leo, and this is the misplay, but I quite like this line of play because he's in a tough spot.
Plus, if your Goliath dies, it's okay because Ozral is here to eat it.
No,
we didn't see the scenarios. Feels bad, man.
We didn't see the memes.
The meme, no.
I mean, pulling in an immune unit is fine, but 9 seems to be the value so far on Tibor. It was 9 points last time as well. So, but I mean, hey, he gets value now by just. I mean, slapping the Ox would obviously be best because it's only resetting for 4 if he has the Peter.
Yeah.
But yeah, we wanted to see the 13 come out.
So at this point, Padge has to just assume that there's no Leo in hand. So I guess he wants to play around Peter. So the way to play around Peter is probably Wrath. It's the Wrath Orcs. So we should Wrath Orcs this turn. Should be the correct play.
Does he want to Ozral here?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I swear there was a another copy of there was a 6. Maybe I'm wrong. So I thought
So
there was
you
a 6
by 2 here. What did Padge have left in his deck? He had Coldwell, which was a -10, so that would have been really bad, and he had Spear Tip. So I guess he had that. The only way he wins that is if T-Ball hits Spear Tip.
Okay, so first win of Cams here in this BO5.
I think it's always a little risky to run something like something that's so. It's actually something that like Gunnergar and I discussed briefly about how if you're running cards that are more dependent on what your opponent does than on what you can do, then it's it's potentially risky. So, but yeah, it's I actually really like cards that are sort of waiting for your opponent, but yeah, no, it's still quite unfortunate that it was sort of like I felt like the Osrel and the Goliath, like when he had 3 cards left in hand, it was sort of like rock paper scissors. It's kind of like, well, if he has the counter, there's nothing I can do anyway. I'll get value back on the Osrel, but then yeah, it's kind of somewhat no-win scenario unless the Spear Tip comes out of the deck with the Tibor. So
yeah, I mean it was like we touched on. He was a little unfortunate with his draws, but at the same time, so was Cam's, right? He didn't have his Leo, he didn't have his Peter. I don't think he had Peter, right? I don't think he played it earlier. So that there was two really strong cards in that matchup that Cam's didn't draw. So like both players didn't draw some really key cards there. So it was a little unfortunate for both, and it ended up being a close game. I think Cam's is favoured in that matchup, though. Like I said, I think the deck list is just tacked for that matchup, right? So he is favoured for that matchup. So you would expect Cam's to win that, but a little bit more luck there for Padge and he would have won. However, a little bit more luck for Cam's and he would have won by miles. So I mean, yeah, it was, I think it was well played by both players. I think there was 1 or 2 slight misplays, but nothing major. And yeah, I mean, it's been some really good Gwent tonight. There's been some really good Gwent, which is what I expect from these tournaments, right? They've been like, this is what you expect from the top players. These guys are guys you're seeing finish on front page of Pro Ladder and stuff. These are your top community players, people who are knocking on the door of going to these tournaments. Cam's actually been to one before, so these guys are some real top players, and you will see some very high level gameplay here. Yeah. Apart from Cam's slave infantry onto his Seret, that didn't make much sense. But other than that, it's been pretty good.
Let's switch to the 4th game with this Garnicora against Queen Maeve.
So again, we're seeing Osrel being kept in hand along with the one big unit. And in there's Wrath as well. It's I found the inclusion of hands interesting. Although I don't, did we say that they were mentioned specifically to counter Meave? But
which card? Sorry,
the hounds.
Hounds. Hounds are just they're good for mirrors and they're good for Meave. They're just good cards, right? They're like basically pirate captains, just monsters pirate captains, right? They're 3 for 3s.
Yeah,
it's good removal value. But yeah, they're more. I guess they're kind of a tech for the Meave matchup, but they're also pretty good in mirrors, right? Provided you can get tallest unit, because they do counter like drainers. They could counter drainers.
Yeah, I mean, monster mirror matches are essentially whoever gets their thrive going better.
Yeah, exactly, and hounds help you win that battle.
Oh, interesting. It does not protect his Arbalest here. The Arbalest. Yeah.
So yeah, he leaves the Arbalest vulnerable, and speaking of Hound. So already a pretty good start here from Aj. Points staggered pretty well on Padge's side, so it will be difficult to see any additional value from the Yennefer.
Yeah.
I imagine that gets drained. It's an immediate 7-point drainer. Pretty good.
Yeah, no reason not to.
I Maybe it's time to lock this Yennefer, or do you prefer to keep your Dorigare to another target?
I mean, using Dorigari is very expensive, right?
It's a precious card against me.
Yeah,
you know?
it's and this is round 1. He's on, right? I don't think he needs to expend Dorigari unless he really thinks he can win this uneven. I wouldn't expect him to play Dorigari unless he really feels like he's going to win it uneven. And at this point, I feel like he's just accepting the fact that he probably won't win this one uneven. He may still win the round because Cams might be like, yeah, I've had enough of this round. That's exactly what happened, right?
Well,
I expect to just see Hound here.
So he will be counting his lucky stars that he can hold on to his lock until round 3. Also, the Osriel, it seems like Osriel and Imler's Wrath are kind of hanging out right now because they're always beside each other. They're always in his hand. So.
Mm-hmm.
Harpy Egg. This is the reason why I like the Team Aretuza list type list, because the Harpy Egg it's good against Skellige, against like a Marauder, but it's also good in round 2 as a proactive play because it's essentially unpunishable if your opponent runs a lot of damage dealing cards. So
Maybe you can think about drafts this botchling Gluberkin. Okay.
I mean, if the botching gets no stronger, it's an easy Cyclops on the egg.
Yeah, it's not right. No, because the botchling's gonna hit.
But the botching will hit the egg, yeah. So we.
But I mean, that's a good bleed, right? You got some good stuff out of him for that. Sure, you played a Chrome, but you're happy to trade 1 Chrome for those 2 cards.
I mean, he could throw the fruit. Oh, he's dropping his lock. Okay.
Quite like that.
Yeah. I don't know. I find if you leave if you leave those 2 together alive for more than a couple turns, then the value just kind of skyrockets. So it's kind of.
Pretty good Gerald technique here.
Yeah, I mean he got Anna out of him as well though, and so Anna's not enough. So he can't pass you. It's enough.
Yeah, and we know that generally speaking, when Vast comes down, there's an order unit coming next, so you can try and pressure him. But it would be dangerous to keep pushing here.
So I think he's just decided that is he gonna go Osrel and just be like bite the bullet and hope to God that he hasn't drawn Ike or anything, or is he just gonna commit last Chrome? Hope he hasn't got another buff card. Because if Camps doesn't have another buff card, if he doesn't have Unicorn, this will probably be enough to get his pass. But Unicorn really ruins Padge's day here. No Unicorn, yeah. That's good.
I was thinking, yeah.
So he gets his pass.
Nice.
And that's like, I mean, that's all he could ever hope for. He's got more than enough out of him here. He's really happy about that. That Unicorn would have been really, really rough, but he didn't get the Unicorn. So he's gonna keep pushing another card.
I feel like that was a well calculated pass, and he should probably take it. But maybe he's afraid of Blue Dream or something, stealing the 10 at the start of the next round or something. Um,
I think he was just giving himself time to think about all the possible.
yeah. That's kind of that's what happens with a lot of, with Gurney in particular. You just have to, you as you say, you have to push, but it's a delicate art to decide precisely how far you push.
That is a good top deck, huh?
Yeah.
Bronze card, bronze card, bronze card, bad gold card. Boy, Padge is really making up for that Squirtle game he had earlier. He drew well. I mean, he bricked Icon Vincent, right?
Now, holding riders here in round 3 is quite risky against Meave, but looks like he's gotten space to play them, so it's actually fortunate, because if he'd gone for something like Blue Dream or something, maybe would have denied the riders. Looks like Cam's is enjoying some bronze card action there as well.
Looks like they both drew really, really well this round, huh? The funny thing with this, right, is you can't actually play around, like, because you always want to play around the worst case scenario, right? So Patch is probably playing around like unicorns. I don't actually know if he's running unicorns or not in this list, Cam. So if he's not running unicorns, then ignore everything I've said up until this point. But like, you're playing around all these cards, right? And then he drops bronze cards, and you're like, well, I can't plan on playing around those cards. But I mean, yeah, this doesn't look great.
I can confirm that there is no unicorn in the list. There is an Aguara, Avalak as well.
I think Pad should have gone for that earlier then, because if this is, I guess if it's Ike, yeah, actually, yeah. It's fine. Still, it looks like a loss, is it? Yeah, it's a loss.
Ouch.
This has VX plus synthesis and the Herbalist. And that makes a difference.
Yep. And Padge would have actually won there if he'd have his big dudes, I guess.
So there's that Immisrath sticking in the hand again. I feel like that's a theme here.
Yeah, I mean, Immisrath's there for like even already can kill engines and stuff, and he could have used it in the round before, but obviously didn't really get a chance in that round 3, right? I guess if he'd have played Osrel earlier, he might have got a chance, right? If he plays Osrel first and just bites the bullet and just thinks, well, he's not running, he hasn't drawn Ike, then he gets rewarded. Maybe that was the way to play there with such a bad hand. Because if he does that, then he can use his Wrath to kill one of those 2 dragons, right? Which is a big deal. And that might have been enough to get the win. But, I mean, he was playing around Ike, which is not necessarily like that. I mean, that's quite possibly the correct line of play there. Although with a hand like he had, maybe he had to take the risk that Cam's didn't have Ike and just thought that was his hope that would have won in the game. And I'm not sure if it would have won in the game. I can't think back and do the maths, but it would have been definitely a lot closer, right? If you get to use your leader, you get to use your Wrath on denying some good value there.
Yeah. So 2-2 in this BO5. So that's ready for the last game. Monsters, I guess monsters.
So both of them have kind of tech for the mirror. Obviously, Ewan's probably a tough attack. I can't remember exactly what else was running in Cam's list, but I mean, Ewan's pretty strong in the mirror. But yeah, it could be interesting. He's actually got good coin for once. But that's a little unfortunate because now he can't get his own riders, eh? And he also didn't draw Warecat in round 1, which is a little unfortunate.
Yeah, really good counter for Neckers.
Yeah. So here the two players will have time to warm their gameplay. It will be pretty interesting to see who will be who will have the best rump between the two of them. How they set up their card.
RNG hit that you love that sometimes, where it's kind of like they see the Gurna core player has an extra dice to roll because it can hit their fruit and give them an additional point of value. So
yeah.
So it looks like Paj is in a good position thrive-wise, but he still cannot play his riders, so he's probably going to have to wait on that.
Oh.
Yeah, so it just seems like a bit of a battle for Thrive and stuff, but once that fourth Thrive unit came down, Cam's like, I've lost this Thrive battle, I'm out. And
I think he also considered the fact that Paj would have to play a 5, and that his kind of 4 provision cards weren't going to get him over the hill to actually win the round, so I actually think it was a really good pass. Once your Thrives reach 4, it's kind of, your opponent has to start playing golds. And there's the workout.
And the as well. But still no horsepower tip.
Yeah, we haven't seen
this one.
Now we see Spirit Tip. now it looks like a monsters deck, you know? So Paj will know here, of course, that Cams can't punish him graveyard-wise, apart from with his own Ozrael. So obviously, in order to enable his own, he will have to develop probably the Goliath eventually in this push, and I do suspect he will push for quite a bit. It's what Greedy does best.
Goonie's like way better on the bleed, right, than Woodland because of the fruit, so it's just a couple of free points, right? It's like 5 or 6 free points on a bleed. It's
yeah,
like
absolutely.
Yeah.
He's pondering the
I
pass.
expect to see maybe. Okay, he just passes. Okay, seems okay. Oh.
Yeah, he wanted to make out this last rider to not have him in his hand.
He still needs to play 7, so yeah.
There's everyone's favorite. Well, I don't even know what position he is. Caldwell. He's a count, but a count of what? Because I'm not familiar with the lore. So
he's a count of a little town in Liaya.
All right. And is he known to be to switch sides a lot to whoever has the most money or whatever? Is that kind of the?
I don't want to spoil Thronebreaker.
Oh, okay. Fair points. But nonetheless, against Woodland in particular, Caldwell's risky.
Yeah.
Not if you play it early, right? When you've got Cyclops.
Yeah, so we're just gonna have to.
But you have to play it before he plays. I guess you've got plenty of ways to knock things down. It is risky, but yeah, he's clicking on it. There are ways of dealing with Caldwell, right, and protecting it.
Yeah, but based on his hand here, he doesn't have a consume. He has one Cyclops, so he
There
yeah
we see Caldwell.
he has to develop it early. That was actually nicely done because I mean he doesn't want to trade down on the Caldwell, but if he doesn't want it to be stolen, he'll either have to type more big units to ensure Caldwell's safety or throw it away when he doesn't want to.
So the one thing Padge has to do here, right, is he has to make sure that he's playing his strives on one and Osram on another, so that he doesn't get massive value on Jurden. Jurden's is a better tech for the Woodland Mirror as opposed to the Greening matchup, I guess, because obviously you can.
Oh,
Interesting.
interesting Oswald here. Pretty fast.
Also noteworthy is the fact, of course, that the fruits will have a cap on their value in this round for Padge. He knows this because he only has one way to get rid of them, and he's probably going to need to use that on the Caldwell, or just be careful, I guess. But you can't insure against 8 free points on a unit.
For sure.
And there comes that spear tip. So he pretty much needs to Cyclops now, right? Or he has a boost crown, yeah. Or damage crown. Same
So I think
same outcome.
I think his plan is right to kill that spear tip so that he can Osrel it. So he's probably gonna Cyclops the Caldwell, kill the spear tip, and then Osrel it. Is probably the plan.
And here comes the Woodland Spirit effect, and
probably a buff.
Yep. That is actually quite a difficult spot for Padge here.
Maybe he gets Cyclops hit.
Okay, he just Cyclops it and hits the Woodland again, I guess.
Yeah, but if Cam's is holding the Cairo, then he's still getting value on the Cairo, so...
Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that, but...
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of nicely sequenced by Cams in a way, because he's essentially ensured value off at least one of his, engines, I guess. But,
Sure.
And that ancient Foggot just smiling at that Werecat in his hand, saying, "I'm going to deny all of that value on this row."
Mm-hmm. The downside to Cam's hitting that Goliath, right, is that it plays into like Jurden onto like if he plays Osrel back row, then Goliath's going to be strong. It's going to reset Goliath, but I guess he probably has a way of dealing 2 damage here. Not sure. I guess now he doesn't, so now you're free to play Osrel back row and not worry about Jurden.
And here's a hidden.
There's Jurden, yeah.
And I think Padge wins by 1, right? This is an 11 plus
11 plus 2.
With Thrive. Yeah.
Ooh, 1 point.
Spicy. Spicy game
on this last one.
Very close in the end, indeed. Padge finally drawing some good cards when it really matters most, right? And yeah, coming away with the victory. That's interesting matchup. That just demonstrates why Gurney is played over Woodland these days, right? It's like it's just got more points. It just generally has more points. Sure, the finish is great, right? And Woodland will win matchups that Gurney can't, but generally Gurney just has more points, and normally points win you games, right? So Gurney's quite a nice leader.
Points win you games.
You heard it here first.
Keith says shed it here first.
Uh-huh.
So guys,
No.
do you want to make some pause now, like 5 minutes?
Sure.
Before we start to the finals. So in the chat, we'll be right